Part 1. The Genetic Contribution of Olmecs to the Native American. The genetic and teaching contribution of the Olmec nation to the Native American is the true source of being an indigenous person to American land. The Olmecs are the spiritual ancestors of people living in North America, including Central and South Americans. The Olmec nation is the oldest and first civilized, spiritually, culture in North America. They were hunters, boat builders, seafarers, priests, musicians, and psychics. The Olmec presence goes back to at least 5,000 years to circa 800 AD. North American antiquity is divided into three epochs: Meso-Indigenous period, Archaic, before Christ BC, the date Olmecs date back to; Classical, during the first 1,000 years of AD, which the Mayan date back to; Post-Classical, from 1000 AD to the Spanish conquest, which the Aztec date back to. The Olmec nation may have existed 270 million years before the antiquity epochs. This is a possibility because there is no limit to when Olmec civilization history began. Their cities and empires are older than any North American indigenous tribes. Example: Inca, Aztec, Mayans, and other Native American tribes. A few of their early accomplishments were: 1. Domestication of various animals, including the dog; 2. Developing agriculture; 3. Creating tools needed for hunting; 4. Set up first system of bartering; and 5. Grew corn, beans, and avocados. Part 2. The Olmecs. The name Olmec, Aztec, meaning rubber people, is the representation of the rubber ball played by the American indigenous tribes. It is said that the Olmec played this only during the dry season, around the winter solstice. Olmecs were the first sport players. They were first to introduce ball courts to the American indigenous tribes, and the Mayans called it Pocatoc. The rubber ball used represents the sun. The Olmec are known as the people of the sun and believed that the sun was the source of all life on earth. The game was based off of the Olmec civilization belief system that before their time there were other worlds or suns. El Manati, located in the Mexican state of Veracruz. This waterlogged site, located in the Mexican state of Veracruz, below, contained 14 rubber balls, ranging in diameter from 8 to 30 inches. The balls were deposited at this Olmec shrine over hundreds of years, from 1900 BCE to the first half of the early Horizon. The material used to make them comes from the rubber tree Castilla elastic, which occurs frequently along the coastal plains in southern region of Mexico, and to the south, essentially matching the distributions of early balls and or ball courts. Olmecs were the first mathematicians. The Olmec civilization's initiation of the long count was through their development of the original astronomical calendar. This calendar was called the long count and was founded in Tres Zapotes that dates back to about 3113 BC. The Zapotes period, 600 BCE to 800 CE. In the region surrounding modern-day Oaxaca, the cultural center, now known as Monte Alban, was founded, which became the capital of the Zapotes kingdom. This calendar was actually more accurate than any other during that time. The Olmec calendar has inscribed dates on them. The counting began on August 11th, 3113 BCE. The Mayans believed that that was the date the world of human beings was created. A continuous one is used to count the total number of days that has passed since the counting began. The long count of 5,125 years is divided into 13 cycles of about 394 years, called bactons. Each bacton is divided into 20 cycles called catons, which are composed of 20 360-day-long tons. Since the basic unit, the ton, is 360 days, time inches backward about 5 days during nearly a solar year. A solar year consists of 365 days. A calendar round date is a date that refers to both the Tzolk'in and Hob. These two calendars were positioned as two wheels with teeth that mesh together to turn and return to the same spot every 52 years. When put together, the Hab and Tzolk'in create an even larger 52-year cycle called the calendar round. This calendar was used by the Maya and many other cultures in Mesoamerica. Hab is part of the Maya calendared system. It was a 365-day calendar used by many cultures of Mesoamerica. The Hab comprises 18 months of 20 days each, plus an additional period of 5 days at the end of the year, known as Wahib. The Hab calendared system was essential for farming corn. It dates back as far as 600 BC. This calendar is based on the 9-month human gestation period. It takes 260 days to conceive and give birth to a child. The Zapotes were clearly influenced by the Olmecs, and through them, some of the most important cultural elements of the region were disseminated, such as writing, mathematics, astronomy, and the development of the calendar, all of which the Maya would later refine. Incredible high-level mathematics went into the creation of this great scientific achievement. Part 3. Why the state is important. August 13, 3113 BCE. This date represents the beginning of the current 5,125.25 year cycle of the long count calendar. Long count begins around 3113 BCE, which happens to be the moment when many complex temple city civilizations suddenly arose in ancient Egypt, Sumer, and China. The beginning and end dates of the long count calendar, 3113 BC to AD 2012. The long count calendar is well known for its threatening prediction of global change that would begin in 2012. 4. The Olmecs were mound and pyramid builders. Olmec temples and mounds. The Olmec civilization built more pyramids, temples, and mounds throughout North America than the Egyptians built in Africa or Egypt. This also confirms that the Olmecs had a considerable degree of civilization. They were able to form in the construction of their works perfect circles and perfect squares of great accuracy. The Olmecs had approximately 45 cities. Each step of the pyramid corresponds to a day, each platform to a month. The architecture of the pyramid gives precise information regarding the Olmec/Mayan calendar. Each face of the four-sided structure has a stairway with 91 steps, which together with the shared steps of the platform at the top adds up to 365, the number of days in a year. These stairways also divide the 9 terraces of each side of the pyramid into 18 segments, representing the 18 months of the Olmec/Mayan calendar. The Great Pyramid is 110 feet, 34 meters high, and is filled with 100,000 meters of earth fill. This pyramid has changed in shape due to 2,500 plus years of erosion. There is proof it was originally rectangular with steps on the side. Beneath the Pyramid of the Sun is a man-made tunnel leading to a cave located 6 meters down. This is believed to be one of the tombs made to bury the Olmecs of high status. Olmecs were advanced astronomers. The Olmec's celestial navigation symbols and formulas that translate to mathematical formulas are still used today for navigation. Accurate drawings of constellations, and some of them were not officially rediscovered until the age of modern telescopes. Part 5. What was the Olmec's cultural practice? The Olmecs worshipped the fire god, corn god, and rain god. The Olmecs told the story of co-creating corn with the gods. They would pray for and coax the development of hard grain into maize. Altogether, there were approximately 10 gods that were worshipped. A few of these would be the Lords of Death, Lady Rainbow, and the Maze God. Religion played a major role in the lives of the Olmecs. Many altars and sculptures found support this theory. The Olmec's way of life was known then and still today as the most peaceful society in history. The Olmec civilization passed down the information on how to survive on Earth to all American tribes. The Olmec leaders taught and lived everyday life, practicing sharing, justice, cooperation, peace, and unity. The Olmec civilization was the first known artist. They were creative and produced soulful artwork. All of these features are seen in later Mesoamerican cultures, justifying the Olmec status as one of the forefathers of American civilization. Olmec colossal heads range from 1.47 to 3.4 meters and 4.8 feet to 11.2 feet. The weight of each head is between 6 to 50 tons. The facial features are of a mature man with flat noses. The cheeks are fleshy and eyes are slightly crossed. Most of the heads have similar headdresses on them, which could have represented a dynasty they belonged to or the type of ruler they were. The Olmec's 19 colossal heads were found in different parts of Mexico and were made out of Olmec basalt, which was found on top of the San Martin Pajapan volcano in the Tuxtla Mountains of the Mexican state of Veracruz. They have the physical features of Ghana, Mali, Benin, Cameroon, or Egyptians. With all the wide variety of stone, even more readily available for their monumental portraits, the Olmec sculptors went out of their way to select black basalt, a deliberate choice on behalf of their subjects' skin color as part of all the other accurate features associated with these portrayals. Examining the Olmec colossal head showed that they mostly wore leather crowns with feathers, copper, and gold designs on it. This style of headdress has only been seen worn by the Mali kings of Africa. The African hairstyles, such as cornrows, are carved on many of the Olmec terracottas that were found in Mexico. The colossal stone head shows both kinky hair designed in a cornrow style along the tassels. The cornrow hairstyle worn by the Olmecs was also a hairstyle of Sahara Africa tribes. The cornrow practices are similar to the West Africa/South Sahara region. The rubber tree. The rubber tree was used by the Olmecs, and this tree is indigenous in West Africa near the Dogon tribe. Mali kings sent huge fleets of merchant vessels across the Atlantic to Mexico to trade hundreds of years before Columbus was even born. Part 6. Olmec languages and writing systems. The Olmec civilization eventually spoke and taught 2,000 separate language and dialects and practiced a variety of life ways of living. In Monte Alban, the Zapotec site, an unusual hilltop location, developed the earliest writing systems in America. After the writings on many Olmec monuments were translated, it was analyzed to be the same language spoken by the Mende. The different languages and traditions in all of the continent tribes or kingdoms of Africa were first used by the Olmecs. The Mende language used by the Dogon tribe was one of Olmec's many languages, and they were mostly used to communicate among each other during the establishment of the Olmec civilization. The ancient Olmecs of Mexico language, religion, and culture were the same as the African origins, and specifically one of the Mende group was West Africa. The most commonly spoken language used by the Olmec civilization was Mende, which in a tonal language was similar to Chinese. People have been able to trace the origin of Chinese and Japanese language while studying Mende. There were many African cultural similarities to the Olmec nation. However, the Olmecs are not from Africa. They are indigenous black-skinned Americans. They were the leaders and mothers of America's first civilization. The Olmec civilization was not a single culture or society of black-skinned Olmecs. They were a widely dispersed group of related populations. The Olmec leaders accepted and eventually taught other cultures, immigrants, their idealistic ways of life and language. Medieval metalsmiths of Ghana and Mali melted gold into X-shaped ingots, a form that appears to have been repeated throughout Olmec temple art, in which X was the symbol for wealth. The Olmecs did not originate in Ghana, Mali, Benin, or Cameroon. Monumental stonework, even remotely resembling the Olmec heads, appeared nowhere in all of West Africa. Also, there were no such highly crafted examples of sculptured art ever repeated anywhere else throughout the long subsequent history of Mesoamerica civilizations by the Mayas, Zapotecs, Toltecs, Aztecs, or any of the otherwise high cultures that followed. Part 7. The Olmecs were craftsmen of metal and stone. Serpentine, jade, and obsidian stones were sacred and highly valued by the Olmecs. Both Chinese and Olmec cultures are known for their reverence for jade. In China, jade has been mined since 6000 BC. Jade is considered as valuable as gold or diamonds, and was used for the making of the finest carvings and art objects. The graves of elite or people of royalty and dignity contained furnishings made out of jade. In Mesoamerica, jade was equally valued and was esteemed by the Olmec. The Olmecs believed that jade had distinctive properties linked with fertility and procreation. This sought-after material was brought into the region through long-distance trade networks. Obsidian naturally forms as volcanic glass. It is produced when lava extruded from a volcano that cools rapidly. Obsidian use was a highly integrated part of daily and ritual life. Part 8. The discovery of the Sirius star. The Olmec civilization, as well as the Egyptians, studied Isis, the star Sirius, whose annual disappearance and return marked the time of the inundation and the subsequent harvest. This led her to become assimilated with other notable goddesses, as much so that she became known as the one with many names. The Egyptians believed that the planet Sirius caused floods, and they noted that the star's annual rising occurred every 365.25 days rather than 365 days. The correction in the length of the calendar year was eventually incorporated in the Julian calendar. The Egyptians also saw Sirius as the doorway to the afterlife and would not bury their dead during the 70 days the star was hidden from view. The 35 days before and after Sirius conjunct the sun, they believed the door was closed when the star was out of view. Conclusion. The Olmec leaders were black-skinned priests that could call upon high-status groups of Olmec civilization. Elite leaders of mighty economics, military force, master architect engineers, political hierarchy, and penal system, as opposed to the other primitive tribal culture's method of punishment. This was a development of the highly structured and stratified socio-political organization created by the Olmec civilization called the chiefdom. Leaders of other cultures, immigrants, were created within the North American Olmec civilization, such as Asians, Greeks, Hebrew, Egyptians, and Romans. However, they were not powerful rulers like the first American indigenous Olmec leaders could command armies of prisoners of war and soldiers. The new leaders earned their position because of their ability to convince others to agree with them on important trade and religious matters. These elite groups were called chiefdoms. They were also the creator of the American native tribes. The remnants and antiquity of the Olmec civilization are not disputable, neither can they be looked upon as a fairy tale. Some of the Olmec sculptures have been found not only in Mexico, but also in certain areas of the United States.